Consistency is one of the most frustrating concepts in Valorant. One game, everything clicks. Your aim feels sharp, your decisions feel confident, and you have real impact on the match. The next game, nothing works. You miss shots you know you can hit, you hesitate, and you start questioning whether you are actually improving at all. Most players assume that inconsistency means they are bad, washed, or doing something fundamentally wrong. But in reality, inconsistency is not a personal failure, it is a signal. And understanding that signal is the key to long-term improvement. In this video, we are going to talk about what consistency in Valorant actually means, why so many players struggle with it, and how to build stability in your gameplay instead of chasing perfect games. Let's start by redefining the word itself. Consistency in Valorant does not mean top fragging every match. It does not mean having insane aim every day or winning every duel. True consistency means performing within your normal range, even when conditions are not ideal. A consistent player is someone who makes similar decisions from game to game, who relies on habits instead of emotion, and who does not collapse mentally after one bad round. Consistency is about reducing extreme highs and extreme lows, not eliminating bad games entirely. And this is important because most players chase peak performance instead of stable performance. Your best games feel powerful, exciting, and validating, but they are not something you can reliably reproduce. They depend on too many external factors: matchmaking, confidence, timing, momentum, and even how rested or stressed you are that day. When your goal becomes playing like my best game again, frustration is almost inevitable. The goal is not to have amazing games more often, but to make your worst games more manageable, more controlled, and less emotionally destructive. Before we continue, I just want to let you know I wrote an ebook about playing Valorant with ADHD. If you struggle with inconsistency, tilt, emotional regulation, or overthinking under pressure, this book might be for you. The ebook is $9.90, and code LNX-ADHD gives you 20% off. All right, back to the video. So why does inconsistency happen so often? One layer of the problem is mechanical instability. Unstructured warm-ups, constantly changing sensitivity, or relying on raw aim instead of fundamentals can all create unpredictability. Under pressure, many players start flicking harder than necessary, panic spraying, or abandoning positioning they normally understand quite well. However, mechanics alone rarely explain the full picture. Mental and cognitive factors often have a much stronger influence. Tilt rarely appears all at once. It builds gradually. A missed shot turns into frustration. Frustration turns into overthinking, and overthinking leads to hesitation or forced plays. Confidence becomes tied to kill count instead of decision quality. And once that happens, consistency becomes almost impossible. There are also factors that have nothing to do with individual skill. Different agents require different forms of impact. Some maps naturally feel uncomfortable. Matchmaking variance, stacks, and uneven lobbies all affect how a game plays out. Yet many players internalize these variables as personal failure. This is why inconsistency is not simply a skill issue. It is a systems issue. And consistency begins long before the match actually starts. A stable pre-game routine gives your brain predictability. That routine does not need to be long or intense, but it should be familiar and repeatable. Instead of trying to warm up until you feel amazing, focus on warming up until you feel normal. Choose one simple intention for the session. It might be disciplined crosshair placement, calmer peaks, or better spacing with teammates. You are not preparing to dominate. You are preparing to function. Chasing the feeling of being on fire before queuing often makes inconsistency worse. Some days, that feeling simply will not come, and waiting for it only increases pressure. Once the game begins, consistency depends on anchors. Anchors are small, reliable habits you return to when stress increases. They are not about winning the round or outplaying the enemy. They are about keeping your behavior stable. Holding angles with patience, clearing space methodically, backing off after first contact instead of re-peeking automatically. These habits create structure when emotions rise. They allow you to play in a recognizable way, even when confidence drops. After deaths, especially frustrating ones, emotional resets matter more than analysis. A slow breath, adjusting your posture, relaxing your jaw or shoulders. These small physical actions can interrupt mental spirals. You do not need to immediately understand what went wrong. You need to make sure the next decision is not driven by frustration. One of the biggest threats to consistency is changing your entire playstyle because of a single mistake. A bad round does not automatically mean your approach is wrong. Very often, it simply means variance showed up. Bad games will happen. They will happen even when you make correct decisions. They will happen even when your fundamentals are solid. What defines consistency is how you respond to those games. Instead of playing to avoid mistakes, consistent players continue to play with intention. They simplify when necessary, take safer fights, and focus on trades rather than hero plays. When mechanics feel unreliable, they reduce risk instead of forcing confidence. And when mental stability begins to collapse, stopping earlier is sometimes the most disciplined choice you can make. Tracking progress is also part of consistency, but only when done correctly. Statistics alone do not explain performance fluctuations. Instead of focusing on rank or kill-death ratio, pay attention to patterns. How do you usually die? What types of decisions repeat across losses? How quickly does frustration change the way you play? Improvement in Valorant is not linear, and comparing yourself to friends, content creators, or even your own best games creates unrealistic expectations. Finally, consistency is deeply personal. Different players struggle for different reasons. Some are more sensitive to stress or pressure. Some deal with focus issues, fatigue, or emotional regulation challenges. There is no universal routine that works for everyone. Your goal is not to become robotic or emotionless. Your goal is to create enough structure that your brain can perform even on imperfect days. Because consistency is not about always feeling confident, it is about remaining functional when you do not. And that is where real improvement begins.